It's showtime.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
You know, the right to bear arms is because that's the last form of defense against tyranny.
Washington is fundamentally corrupt. There are more words in the IRS code than there are in the Bible.
Made in America, heard round the world. You're listening to Blunt Force Truth. I'm Chuck Woolery, along with my co-host, Mark Young. You know, I sent out a tweet the other day, and I said, it is so nice to know, and I believe this is true, that the American people are nothing, absolutely nothing like the media describes us.
Correct. I even got some statistics here to back that up.
Oh, well, of course you do.
In fact, just to answer that really quick, a new poll finds that 81% of Americans say people are offended too easily.
Welcome to the show, everyone.
So, today on Blunt Force Truth, we're going to find out how big of an oppressor is Chuck Woolery. In fact, I think we're going to refer to you as now Chuck the Oppressor from now on.
Oppressor. Everybody knows that's true. Okay. So how are you going to find this out?
All right. So what we're going to do here, Chuck, is we're going to find out what your intersectionality score is.
Oh, boy.
Now, just in case you don't know, folks, what intersectionality is, this is the theory.
I'm sure you won't know after you hear it.
The theory that the overlap of various social identities, such as race, gender, sexuality, contributes to the systemic oppression and discrimination experienced by individuals.
In other words, you're a bigot.
So we're going to do this quick test here, Chuck. And
oh my
once
God,
the
we're going
test
to
is
test
done,
on a podcast. That ought to be fabulous.
And once we get the test done, we're going to find out your score. And then we're going to give you tips on how to improve your score.
Okay.
So you can find this, folks, in case you want to do it for you and your friends and loved ones.
By the way, I had nothing to do with setting this up, folks. Nothing.
You can go to the intersectionalityscore.com. Okay. Number one question. Are you white? Yes. Are you straight?
Yes.
Are you a male?
Yes.
Are you cisgender? Yes, you would be. I know you don't even know what that means.
What is cisgender? What does that mean?
It means you're not transgender.
Oh, okay. I'm anti-transgender.
I believe that. Are you rich? Yes.
Yes.
We're going to say you are older.
Yes.
Are you able-bodied? Yes.
Yes.
English your first language?
Yes.
Born in the USA?
Yes.
Educated?
Yes.
Christian?
Yes.
Not a Muslim?
No.
And not a Jew?
No.
Okay, so this is a sliding scale.
Well, interestingly enough, though, being a Christian, you have Jewish roots because we embrace both the Gospels.
Your intersectionality score.
Oh, you got it after just that?
Yes.
You know who I am after just that.
Yes.
Okay, who am I?
Okay, now remember, the higher the score, the less of an oppressor you are.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Your score is 2. Which means it says you are more privileged than 100% of the world. Well, I don't know how you get more than 100%.
I don't either. More than 100% of the world. That's like is 102, 150% of the world.
You are an oppressor of people who are not even born yet. That's how you have done that. Now, let me give you the tips on how you can improve your score, Chuck.
Yeah.
Here's how you can improve your score. You can convert to Islam.
Mm-hmm. That won't happen.
You could donate all your money to charities.
That's not going to happen either.
Or you could become gay, it says.
Well, that's not going to happen. Jeez.
What? You're not doing anything to help here.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
No,
I am who I am. I am what I am. What did Popeye used to say?
Yes, I am what I am.
I am what I am.
It also says that you could champion the intersectionality of marginalized friends.
What does that mean? Marginalized friends?
Well, if I qualify as your friend, my score is the same as yours. So,
oh, is it really?
Yes. So we are oppressing the world together here on Blunt Force Truth. Maybe we should call this Blunt Force Oppression instead of blunt
isn't
force truth.
this amazing, the kinds of things they come out with? And I'm sure that somewhere in a college class, they've got this up where everybody takes the test. And they talk about things like, are you male? Yes, we can't do anything about that. Are you white? Yes, can't do anything about that. I mean, all of the questions refer to things that you have pretty much no control over, but you're dinged for them. So you can't help any of it. It's just who you are.
Well, exactly. Think of this.
I mean, how many people are transgender in this country? What's the percentage?
Oh, it's like 0.02 or something. It's minute.
So what is that? I mean, how can that possibly be a marker for anything?
But I mean, look at this stupid stuff. Are you white? Okay, so if I just shift your score from white to make you a person of color,
yeah,
and change nothing else, your score becomes 30. Wow. If I make you gay, let's make you gay, your score becomes 40. And if I make you a female, your score just became 55. If I take out able-bodied, you're up to 61. So if you want to have a killer score here, Chuck, you need to be a black female transgender who has no education, is poor, and has one leg.
Yeah.
Yep.
So who made this up? Who decided that this was going to be the gospel of the future, or even of the present?
This is the Intersectionality Defense Fund.
What? They have a defense fund? Were they defending against you and I? People like you
defending, and me? Yes, defending against us, Chuck the oppressor.
God.
So,
and you know, the funny thing about this is intersectionality, it's kind of a buzzword.
Yes.
And so it's a buzzword by the media. It's a buzzword from the left, and they control the media. So everybody's, running around with these buzzwords as if they're some kind of genius. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. But it's just me.
Did you have a choice in being white?
No.
Being male?
No.
Being straight?
No.
Your age?
No.
Being born in America?
No.
English as a first language?
No.
Okay. Almost nothing here you have a choice in.
Oh. But that's the world we live in today, isn't it? I mean, we discuss people of color. We discuss people of no color as if it's some kind of sin one way or the other, when in fact you have no control over that. You're done for it, dinged for it, or whatever you want to call it. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's just who you are. But you got to make up with the left somehow. You got to swing to their side somehow. I just find it utterly and incredibly stupid.
If you were to watch television and the media, you would believe that white males are now a minority.
Well, if you look at commercials, let me give you an example of a commercial that is just so far out of it's insane. And it's a Subaru commercial. So you have a black family in a Subaru. Okay, let's be honest, folks.
Yeah, that doesn't happen already.
That doesn't happen, period. And you're going, what the hell is that? Subaru, the most stolen car in the world. I mean, it's just
maybe they stole it. Are you saying the family stole the car?
No. I'm just saying it's the most.
God, you are Chuck the oppressor.
Subaru at one time was like the most stolen, or the least stolen car in the world. It's like nobody wanted it. They didn't want to steal one.
You don't, I agree. You don't really refer to your Subaru as your whip. It's just
I mean, come on. And yet they do this all the time and expect us to believe that they're either, it's like this test. It's like they're overcompensating with something that isn't real at all, but they want to make it look like it's real. So we deal with this every day in commercials, in comedies, everything that comes out of the media. I mean, I grew up in a time in Hollywood where every woman was saying this. Can you imagine what it is? Every actress out there was saying. Tell me what it is.
I have no idea.
There are just no parts for women.
Huh.
No parts for women. We can't find a job. Well, my God, now they want to turn James Bond into a woman. They want to, I mean, if you look at Netflix, I dare you or challenge you just to go on Netflix and look at all of the series. Every single one is led by a woman with very few exceptions. So now they've swung clear the other way. Men are having a hard time finding a job, and women have all the leads. The new James Bond, they're talking about making her a woman or him a woman. So it's
so
like,
last night we went to see the new Endgame.
Endgame, what is that? Is that the Avengers?
The Avengers
Okay.
Endgame. I don't want to give it away for anyone, but there's a scene in the movie where they're in a big battle, and all the superhero warriors that fly to the front line of the battle are all women.
Yeah, I know. So what's going on here? What's happening? I mean, this is not reality, obviously. That's not to say that there's some women who are brawny and bad and all that kind of stuff, but generally speaking, that is not true.
Your wife can bench press that Subaru, so
that's I agree with you. That's true. There are those exceptions. She happens to be one of them. I'm literally married to one. But the point is, it's not reality. It's not the overwhelming consensus of opinion that women are stronger than men. That, you know, where's this coming from and what's it leading to?
it's trying to balance the power. See, the reason you don't understand this is because you're infected with toxic masculinity.
Of course I am.
And it's right. And it's very toxic and it's poisoning your brain. It's one of the reasons why you are Chuck the Oppressor.
I'm not whining about it. I don't really care that much about it. Frankly, it's just something I notice. Like I notice, you know, when a judge walks into their chambers and you see a bobblehead of Hillary or Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Well,
you know.
this first off, Chuck, this ties when you look at the intersectionality. It's a hard word to say fast, isn't it?
It's a hard word to say slow.
Yes, intersectionality. When you tie that together.
Sounds traffic oriented.
Well, when you tie it together, it ties together with the victimhood of America.
What is that? Again, this whole media thing about everybody's a victim. I mean, I was watching Joe Biden talk about tax cuts and the rich got them and everything else. And they're saying, did you notice did you get a tax cut? Did you notice? Everybody in the audience goes, no, I didn't notice anything. Of course they did. And we know that they did. It's a false narrative. That's the thing that really drives me nuts, is this continuing false narrative as if it were true.
Well,
and it's
Russian
not
collusion is still going on.
You know, well, the Russian collusion, they've now opened up this Pandora's box of the Obama administration, inviting a bunch of prosecutors from the Ukraine into the office prior to the election and asking them to help with Hillary Clinton. So that's going to be an interesting Pandora's box if they ever open that up and investigate it.
Well, that'll be kept quiet.
Well, no, it's out there. I mean, I heard it today on a show, and so it's obviously out there.
You probably didn't hear it on CNN.
No, well, I don't expect to hear anything on CNN of value.
So I'm going to jump back to the victim thing for a minute. So follow with me here. This is the Democratic Party. The benefits of being a victim, not having to take responsibility for anything.
Right.
People lavish you with attention. Other people feel sorry for you. People don't criticize you.
No.
You have the right to complain. You're more likely to get what you want. You feel interesting because you can tell people all of your stories of woe. You don't have to be bored because there's so much drama in your life.
Sounds like a Dr. Phil segment.
And you get to avoid and bypass anger because you're too busy feeling sad. Although the left seems very angry to me, though.
Well, they're angry and sad. So, you know, it's, again, this whole thing is media driven. It's to try to describe who the American people are. And maybe in cities and in blue states and blue cities and all that kind of stuff, maybe that's how these people feel. I don't know. But I generally think the general population of America is pretty happy, very happy with how things are going economically in this country. I mean, I heard this whole thing about socialism has Christian principles.
What?
I mean, exactly. What are you talking about?
Those that don't work shall not eat? That's part of socialism?
It has Christian. Well, this is what part of the sell. And yet capitalism, we know, and then everybody says, well, you can't use capitalism. It's got a bad name now. Well, it's only got a bad name because the left gave it one. It's not a bad name, capitalist. Well, they'd call it freedom enterprise or something else. So now they want to change the the words that we use in order to describe an economic system, which is capitalism, it has lifted more people out of poverty than any system known to man. And it's constantly under attack by the left. Constantly.
We'll call it the free market system.
Okay, fine. But it's still capitalism, isn't it?
It is. But they haven't poisoned free market system yet.
Well, they will, and then you'll have to go back to capitalism. It's exactly like progressivism. They poisoned that in the 20s and the teens, and then they went back to it in the late 90s or early 2000s.
Folks, if you're watching us live on Twitter, reach down and click that little that little button on the bottom there, so you can share it. And if you have any questions you want to throw in here, toss them in there, and Rusty will get to them. So, Chuck, I have a question for you now. Islam is the great religion of peace. Mm-hmm. And Islam is the favorite religion of the left now, right?
Yeah, it's amazing how Islam, throw gays off the balcony, kill them, cut their heads off, all of this stuff, and yet the left embraces them. They have a lot in common. All through the Second World War, the Nazis were literally supported by the Muslims in the Middle East. They were their buddies throughout the whole thing. And that's what Patton and what's his name, the other general from Britain, they had to go in and crack that all up and break it up. And it's constantly been that way. The Islam is a political system that is very, very akin to socialism, but it's wrapped in a religion. So, I don't think that all Muslims are bad and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't believe Islam is the way to go. And if you look at Europe, they have invaded stealthily by just taking them all in. So it's really interesting. In Germany, they have problems. Sweden has problems. Denmark has problems. Brussels has problems. France, Britain, they've all had this cozy relationship with the Middle East for going back centuries. And now they've all come into this country, and they've got beheadings, they got rapes, they got pillages, they got burns, they got bombs, they got everything going on. And if you're a woman and you report a rape in Sweden, they just say, please. They don't want to talk about it, because the people who made those decisions are the people in power to make the decisions to let them in. And they're the people in power, and they will not take the blowback of their mistakes. And it's a mistake. They're changing the entire culture of Europe. I'm not saying
London is lost.
London is totally lost. I mean, they banned guns, so you can't have those. Now they're trying to ban knives. If you can't shoot them, stick them. And that's what they're doing. They're sticking them now. And
they're stabbing more people in London than New York is having shootings.
It's amazing. And it seems like, isn't it so frustrating for citizens of a country or of a city that watch this stuff go on and say, we elected you to help us here and to protect us, and you're doing nothing but giving us excuses as to why you're failing. And there's nothing we can do about it except hire somebody else to do the same thing.
Yeah, they grind the points off of knives now. You have to take your knife to the police station so they can grind the edge off of it, which last time I checked means it's not a knife.
Well, it's a butter knife. It's a butter knife.
Great. They could have butter on their scones.
Yeah. The point is they'll never follow that. They're not going to do that. They'll still stab you.
Now, knowing that Islam is the great religion of the left, mm-hmm. and you have,
Omar, and you got the girl in Michigan, you got
Sansauer, mm-hmm. Linda Sansauer.
Right.
So this is the big deal. So a Kuwaiti academic has now invented an anal suppository to cure gayness.
What?
I'm not making this up. I don't make these things up. Kuwaiti woman claims to have a cure for homosexuality. Dr. Mariam Al-Sohel believes that the cause of gayness are anal worms that eat semen. I'm not making this up.
Gee, anal worms that eat semen.
Yes, and this is the cause of homosexuality. She has an honorary doctorate in sex management. She actually has no real education.
Yeah, right. Honorary doctorate.
She claims that
several
the
Pulitzer
worms,
Prizes.
Yes, the
and a Nobel.
Inside the anus cause men to be gay.
The what?
After
What?
the worms, the
Yeah.
gay worms inside the anus of men cause men to become gay.
Well,
It's not-
what about lesbians? What causes them to be gay?
She's got that too. Now, I'm getting to it. Don't
Okay,
rush
I'm
the
sorry. I
story
didn't
here.
mean to- I've
So-
never heard this. Curious.
After making the discovery, Al Sohel created enemas that kill the anal worms. Even
Well,
though
has she ever taken an anal worm and put it under a microscope and say, these are the worms that are eating your sperm?
she says she has scientific proof, and she provides no resources or any citations to this proof.
Yeah.
Instead, she said she has tested her products on people and cured them of their homosexual desires. Now, this works on gays, and she says this works on butch lesbians. It does not work on the lipstick lesbians, sadly. But then again, most guys don't have a problem with lipstick lesbians anyways. So I don't know that we need to cure them. So,
Oh my gosh. Oh my Lord.
so,
Oh, Mark.
so my question is,
Yeah, right. I can't wait to hear this.
well, my question is, are the gays celebrating that Islam has come up with a gay cure? Or is this an affront to the gay community that they think that their gayness is caused by a worm?
Who knows? And
And why is there not more being said about this on the part of the LGBTQRXWXYZ?
My answer to that is, number one, they don't want it. Number two, everything in the left, as you said, to start off with this whole thing, is a matter of being a victim. So if you're gay, you're a victim. If you're trans, you're a victim. You choose your victim, whatever kind of victim you want to be, and then you fly the banner of that victimhood under the left's flag, and everybody's supposed to feel sorry for you. Everybody's supposed to say, "Oh, it's okay. We agree with you. Don't worry." It's just an odd thing that's going on. I mean, it really is. And I'm old enough to remember when there were so many prejudices with absolutely no give anywhere. Those days are long, long gone.
Absolutely. We were kids. People spoke with no filter at all.
Absolutely. And those days are gone forever. And I'm not sure that those are the best days. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're gone. And now, you can be what you want to be, fly the flag that you want to fly. I don't care. I don't care.
And much about those days needed to be gone.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't really care about this. It was like a point of they make fun of you or put you down or whatever, but you're a different kind of victim now.
But see, that's the thing about America, though. We've got 270 years plus a history, and we don't always get it right, but we always try to fix it.
Listen, it's funny when a gay boy starts crying like a girl. I don't care. It's funny.
Well, it's caused by worms.
Yeah, Mark, Johnny Hook wants to know, is there a suppository for socialism?
Boy,
Yeah.
if there is. Oh, there is. Chuck can answer this one.
It's a
and there is
giant
one.
capitalism.
A big shot of capitalism.
Big shot of capitalism will cure you overnight.
That's right. Take this roll of $100 bills and stick it up your butt. I actually have one of those suppositories right here.
Yeah, there it is, ladies and gentlemen.
It's otherwise known as a 50 caliber round.
Oh, jeez.
But it's turned into a bottle opener. Check this out.
Oh, good. Mhm.
Patrick and my daughter got this for me as a gift. It's a bottle opener,
Fabulous.
and it's made by veterans, Chuck. They
Hey,
are,
listen, speaking of
bottlebreacher.com. We'll give them a free plug here.
speaking of weapons and everything, LaPierre was under fire. Everybody at NRA has been under fire because who was it? Cuomo came out and he said they will sell guns to anyone. It doesn't matter to them. Well, the NRA doesn't sell guns.
No. But the big battle between Oliver North and LaPierre is due to overbilling from their ad agency.
Okay.
I recommend they just fire the agency and get a new ad agency.
I suppose you'd be up for that, right?
My suggestion would be there's an agency called Jekyll and Hyde. If any from the NRA is listening, I think they would do a marvelous job.
Mm-hmm.
So Chuck, Sri Lanka, they've had problems there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the president of Sri Lanka has now banned all burqas and habibs and every type of face covering in the entire country.
So this has been going on since the 11th century, trying to get rid of all the Jews and get rid of all the Christians and only have Muslims survive. This is nothing new. It's just a new methodology, but it's the same war that's been going on for 1,000 years or so. And no one seems to understand it. And that's the thing that gets me is, well, I just don't understand. You're not going to get along with these people. It's not going to happen. You may get along with them if you can challenge them in any way to make them feel like if they do go out, if they're out of line, they'll get hurt. But I guarantee you, they'll kill as many Christians as you let them and as many Jews as you let them kill. They will do it. They'll do it as a government. They'll do it as an individual. It's their mission. And if you don't understand that mission, then you're nuts. They've laid it out there for you for 1,000 years, and no one seems to get it. And I'm not over or understating that. That's the truth.
And they're chasing all the gays with suppositories.
Exactly. Yes, I know.
The anti-gay suppository. I just can't understand why the gays aren't having a fit about that. So Ilhan Omar, Chuck, says that Jesus is a Palestinian now.
Well, the left can say anything they want, and everybody goes, "Oh yeah, that's right, sure."
Yeah, Jesus is Palestinian. I remember
Palestinian,
that.
all right. Of course, Palestine was like created by who was Palestine? Palestine wasn't even a place.
It didn't even exist.
Did the British create Palestine? I mean, huh? No, the Romans didn't create Palestine. They did not. The Palestine is like an old. It's new. It's not old.
Well, there's Palestinian as a group and then Palestinian as a land. You're both right. Palestine as a land didn't happen until the Ottoman Empire. But Palestinians, which was considered the Israeli area, the area of Israel, was created by the Romans, but it did not exist during the time of Jesus. Plus, Jesus was a rabbi.
Yeah.
How could you be a Palestinian rabbi?
Well, in today's world, you can be everything you want to be, even in history.
But this is, I got to ask you, these three lunatics, these three women in Congress, do you suppose, like Omar her and AOC just fire these shots out because they know that they're going to get press, that they don't even believe this stuff? It's just like, let's throw another lunatic comment out so we can get more airtime?
I think that they do it because they know that there are groups of people or a group of people or whatever that will pick up on that, believe it, and carry their message. Whether it's true or not doesn't really matter. There are groups of people within this country and around the world who will pick up a message and carry it because they believe it, they heard it, they have no substance for it or anything, or they can't substantiate it. But since they believe it and they heard it from someone, then they all get together in their little groups and they go out and they promote it and perpetuate the myth. We see this happen over and over and over again. Look at climate change. My God, they got the entire world believing there's climate change. And you and I are like outliers. And science is outliers. While they say it's scientific, it's not, but they claim it is. So they've made science outliers. So why not Jesus is a Palestinian? Why not anything? Just say anything and lay it out there. It can become, the norm.
You just reminded me of something. Beta O'Rourke just chopped 2 years off the Ocasio-Cortez doomsday clock.
Oh, so it's going to be 10 years now instead of 12.
10 years now.
Yeah. Well, now these people, see, here's another thing. They run around saying this and people are saying, I don't believe that. Or they're saying, oh my God, we've got to do something about it. In 10 or 12 years, and when nothing happens, literally nothing will happen. No one would be held accountable. No one will be doing it. They just say, well, they missed it. Maybe they missed it by 5 more years and we'll wait till then.
Well, you remember the Al Gore doomsday clock, the Ted Danson doomsday clock.
But the point of it is, most of these things are years out. Most of the predictions they make are usually generations out, so that everybody's dead by the time they get there anyway, so they can say anything you want to say. It's never disproven. This one happens to be within a clock range where there are a lot of people are going to live through this and see that it was just a total farce. But you know,
it's now turning into a version of Name That Tune.
what do you mean?
So AOC was, I can destroy the world in 12 years. Beta comes
I can
up
do
and
it in
says,
10.
I can do it in 10. Kamala Harris is going to show up. It's 8 years.
Right.
Spartacus,
And tomorrow.
Yep. Spartacus is going to swing in with 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the winner of the party is going to be whoever decides that the climate holocaust is going to happen within 6 months.
It's not going to happen.
That'll be the one we have to elect.
I mean, just because you have a tornado in Tornado Alley during tornado season doesn't mean we have climate change. I mean, it's just.
Well, you do realize, Chuck, that all of the people that are invading our country on the southern border
are running from climate change.
Right. They are climate refugees, climate change refugees.
You know, as we speak, whatever his name is, Guido or something down in Venezuela is staging a coup, apparently.
Yes, Maduro is still hiding.
Yeah. I think Bernie Sanders ought to go down and give him a hand.
Well, he wouldn't be giving a hand to the people trying to coup. He'd be wanting to save Maduro.
Maduro. Yeah, right. Yeah, that was his hero.
Speaking of Bernie says that Marvel and Disney, because they've had such a spectacular weekend and broke all the box office records with the new Avengers movie.
Did you see it? You said you saw it.
I saw it last night.
Did you like it?
It's over 3 hours long. I did like it.
Okay.
My wife thought it was too long. She thought it was boring. There are sad parts. Some people were crying. But anyways, Bernie says all of that spectacular money should be given to the workers at Disney World in the Disney organization.
Whether they earn it or not.
It would just be a grand gesture on the part.
And then once you do that, here's my point. Once you do that, then what happens tomorrow?
I will be back at your door with my hand out again.
And then what happens the next day?
Then I will get angry when I put my hand out tomorrow and you don't give me more free money.
And then you'll be right back to where you started. It's insane.
Well, it's like right now, everybody in the circular firing squad, which we're now up to 20 Democrats, pretty much everyone is on the Medicare for all bandwagon.
And Medicare will be broke in 8 years. That's not a prediction. That's an absolute fact. It'll be broke in 8 years.
7.
Okay.
I just baited you.
Yeah, right.
I chopped a year off.
I can break that in 6.
So anyways, yes, it's going to be broke, but they want to put everyone on Medicare, which will have a cost of $36 trillion in the first 10 years.
So what happens? Let me ask you, folks, what happens when you take on Medicare for all and Social Security goes broke, Medicare goes broke? Where do those trillions, because they are literally trillions, where do those trillions of dollars come from? Do you just print it? Do you tax people out of existence? Do you break the back of the economy in order to provide health care for everybody? I had a doctor yesterday who I went to, and she's a very nice woman. I really like her. She's a nephrologist, and she grew up in Belarus. And she got her medical education free from the Soviet Union. And then she went to Montreal, and she practiced there. And then she went to France for a while and practiced there. Now she's here in Texas. And I asked her, I said, and I was surprised because I didn't get the answer I thought I was going to get. I said, how do you compare what we're doing, Medicare for all, and the Soviet system that you grew up under? And she began to defend the Soviet system and saying the socialist Soviet system really worked in her favor. She would not have been able to be a doctor, and many people wouldn't have been able to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, what about this Medicare for all thing? I mean, she said, do you know how much I make on Medicare patients? I said, no, I'm a Medicare patient, so tell me. She said, I think it was 7%. And I said, but then she said something that was very key. She said, but I didn't become a doctor to make money. I didn't become a doctor to get rich. And a lot of people do. And I said, oh, I understand that. But it requires a lot of time and a lot of education. She said, however, I believe that everybody deserves the right to health care. And I said, well, what if you can't afford it? It doesn't matter. So it took me back in my mind to the time when country doctors and people like that, they would go around, they'd take a chicken. They weren't in it for the money. They would help anybody they could. They'd come to your house. They'd take care of your kids, all that kind of stuff. Are we going to go back to a time where doctors are just, taking chickens and pigs and corn and bushels of this and that? It wasn't socialized medicine back there. Just people didn't have the money to pay for it, or that was the only method they could pay. And it's a very interesting situation we're getting into, where if you start claiming healthcare is a right, not a privilege, then everything becomes a right, not a privilege. And once the government takes over healthcare, it's going to be about as good as Amtrak, maybe not quite that good. And that's the truth. If they get their hands on this and it goes to single payer, my children and your children and grandchildren are going to be in deep, deep trouble.
Well, your children and my children will still have medical care because we'll pay for it out of pocket.
Yeah, I'm thinking about when I'm gone, But anyway.
Well, I did a little math before the show here.
And she said that, by the way. She said there will be concierge places where if you have a lot of money, you can just go ahead and pay for it.
Mm-hmm. So if we were to have Medicare for all, based on what they're saying, which is $36 trillion for the next 10 years, we would have to slightly more than double all federal taxes in America to pay for it.
Oh, you can't. It can't be done. It literally economically, it doesn't figure out. But that doesn't stop them because, they got the Green New Deal, which is that doesn't figure out either. By the time they get finished with it, we won't have a country. We'll all be digging ditches or something for 5 cents. It's insane. But they still go down this road expecting everybody to, accept the consequences of what their actions are and take for granted that they know what's best and they don't. So
in Venezuela right now, they are having a military coup to get rid of socialism.
I know it's like in our backyard and no one is paying attention.
Well, it's because
they blame it on something else. Because
they had the wrong people running it, Chuck.
Well, they've had the wrong people running it all over the world.
That's correct. We haven't had Bernie run it.
So what happened to China? Everybody, I got all these people come back when I mentioned something about capitalism. A lot of people came back on Twitter and said, well, China's doing great. They're not capitalist, but they are.
Oh, they're highly capitalist.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that pulled them back out of communism.
Exactly right. That's the single thing that pulled them out of the gutter.
So China's interesting in as much as they are a communist country. Mm-hmm. They certainly are a country with central power.
Right.
But what they did, specifically what they did in China several years back, was they started taking some of the manufacturing in China, and the government started selling those factories, selling those plants to the managers of the plants, the people who were running them for the government. Mm-hmm. And when they did that, all of a sudden, people started making money. They started paying workers more. China started to get a middle class, and China became a real manufacturing powerhouse because now these companies were competing on the world market using the capitalistic pricing system, which is perfect. And that's really what has dug China out of the hole until China figured out that they had to relinquish government ownership of business. China was completely in the ditch.
So here's the point that I'd like for you to elaborate on if you can. Healthcare, if it's government run, will be a total wreck. We know that. So
Agreed.
How do you solve it? When Republicans and Democrats both say we have to do something, is that the problem? is that government has to do something, that government has to fix this? Is this a government problem, or is it just a problem the government is adopted and saying, we're making it our problem because we represent the people and it should be our problem, so we're going to fix it? Well, the last time they tried to fix it didn't work. That's called Obamacare. So how do you fix this problem of healthcare? Realizing that not everybody's going to be happy about it, because not everybody's happy about anything. But what is the most fair way to fix healthcare?
You fix it by less is more.
You have to say what that means.
We need less government. So what we have right now in the healthcare system is we have this quasi-governmental system. We need to get government completely out of healthcare. So we need to get, for instance, we need people to be able to buy insurance across state lines.
Okay, that's number one, buying insurance across state lines. Now, you must understand, and I know you know this, that the insurance companies have been vilified for the last 15, 20 years to the point where they are the most hated people on the planet and they take advantage of everyone. So that has to be rejiggered somehow, because I agree with you. Insurance should be sold across state lines. It should be very competitive. But does that take care of the poor, the people who can't afford insurance?
Well, the next thing we need to do is we need to clip the wings of the Michael Avenattis of the world.
Well, you have to clarify that.
With personal injury lawyers. Right now, the average doctor spends $155,000 a year
defending
just for insurance from frivolous lawsuits.
So tort reform and selling insurance across state lines. You got competition and a cap on legal fees somehow, tort reform.
Now, the next thing is we need to break the AMA's hold on medical care.
How do you do that?
We need to start authorizing physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and other professionals to start delivering more health care.
And what happens when a mistake is made by a doctor or a healthcare person or whatever? Because it will happen. You know, it's supposed to be, you're supposed to cut off my left leg and you get confused and cut off the right one.
Well, the old joke in the medical profession is when a doctor makes a mistake, they bury the mistake. But switching from doctors to nurse practitioners and PAs is not going to increase the risk. The way that we can lower the risk of physician mistakes is we need the medical profession to embrace technology. They're not embracing the use of technology, which would be a big advance in being able to stop things like the wrong prescription and the wrong surgery and things of that nature.
I went to my pharmacy not too long ago, and he said, come back here. I want to show you something. I have an automatic thing that completely fills all my prescriptions for. I'd never seen it before. You said you'd seen it before. And it was amazing. It counted them out perfectly. It chose which one that I was supposed to have. It was totally automated. And I live in a very, very tiny little town.
Less likely to make mistakes.
Right. He said, I don't have to depend on my people anymore because this doesn't make mistakes.
Now, what else do we need to do? We need to get the FDA out of our health care.
Well, now these are all government things that people have depended on, like government. The FDA and the AMA and all this. We've depended on these to kind of hold the line on abuse from forever, I guess, for a long, long time. So these institutions have been in place forever trying to protect us, correct?
Well, but the problem is the overreach has gotten so far that the number of lives that are being lost from this protection grossly outweighs the number of lives that are being saved. Now, next to the insurance company, the big villain is the drug business. But if you look at a drug company spends billions of dollars in R&D to come up with a new molecule, a new drug.
Let's say something here to precede that, or let me say this. OxyContin and those kinds of drugs, Percocet, whatever it is, those are all very important drugs. There's no question about it.
They are.
They're also drugs that you can get hooked on. Morphine's an important drug, but you can get hooked on it.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you an example of a very good friend of mine who you heard me speak of, and I'm not going to mention his name. Very wealthy guy, sat on the board of 3 different hospitals. He had a stomach problem, and they had to cut away most of his stomach. So everything that he processed, now he was 38 years old when this happened. So he never drank, he never smoked, he never took drugs. He was the cleanest living guy I've ever known. By the time 5 years passed, he was on Percocet, Percodan, and alcohol. He became an alcoholic in a very short period of time.
Wow.
So
toss in a peanut butter and nanner sandwich and you've got Elvis.
well, you see, here's the problem with my friend, though. My friend had a lot of power, and he knew a lot of very powerful people. So he was able to go in and say, I feel this, give me that. And no one would ever challenge him. No one would ever just say, look, this is not real. This is all phantom pain, and we're going to get you through this another way. No one would challenge him. So he just went ahead down that road until it finally killed him. Took a long time, but it finally killed him. And I lost a very good friend. So I know that people can abuse all of these opioids and things like that. The point is, we have to have laws in place where they can't abuse them and they can't be overprescribed and all that kind of stuff. And that usually falls under doctor's supervision.
Right. Not the FDA.
Not the FDA.
But Chuck, let me walk people through this real quick. You're a drug company. You want to invent a drug. You spend billions of dollars in laboratories. You invent 50 different drugs to find one that might work. Mm-hmm. Now you take that drug and you have to run it through 3 rounds of FDA clinical trials, which on average is $2.5 billion, and will take 6 to 7 years. So you spent 3 or 4 years making the drug. You've got 6 or 7 years worth of clinical trials. Now you've got $4 or $5 billion wrapped up in this drug. You've got 10 years spent on it. Your patent's only good for 17 years.
And then it's genetic. Anybody can pick
then
it
it's
up.
generic.
Yeah,
It becomes generic.
generic.
So now you roll your drug out. When you first roll your drug out, your drug usually isn't covered by Medicare and Medicaid or insurance. It takes, could take a couple of years before that happens. Mm-hmm. So finally, Medicare decides to pay for your drug. You're now down to 3, 4, 5 years to recoup $5 billion worth of investment. So what do you have to do? You have to charge everybody $1,000 a month for the prescription to get your money back. And remember, you deserve to make a profit. And if you don't make a profit, you no longer have investors in your drug company, do you?
And this is where socialism is such not a trick. It's insane. They would prefer that no one make a profit.
Right. And then no one does the R&D.
Yeah. Well, then where are you left? No one does the R&D. But,
Right.
it's not to feel sorry for the drug companies. They make plenty of money. There's no question about that.
They do. But how
It's
many
just
great drugs have you got from Mexico recently?
I don't know. How many have you?
None. How many Mexican medical breakthroughs have you seen?
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're mostly here in the United States.
That's right, because profit is a motive. But think about it. We could fix this if we shortened up the length of time for FDA approvals.
This is too hard for people to understand and believe because, quite frankly, the tort reform selling insurance across state lines, I've been talking about that for 8 years, 9 years.
Congress could fix this in a long weekend.
Well, they could fix the border in 24 hours, but they won't. So what the hell is this all about? I mean, what is going on here?
Let me give you an example. You could take the patent laws here in America where you get 17 years on a patent.
Yeah.
Change that 17 years to 24 years, and you just lowered the price of drugs. Mm-hmm. That's simple. That's simple because you just now told the drug company, here's 7 more years to recoup your investment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now I can add 7 more years to my pro forma of how I'm going to recoup the money.
So
and
basically,
what
you're saying is that Congress is very interested in blaming everybody else, the manufacturer, the Border Patrol, ICE, whoever it is. They're interested in blaming them, but they're not interested in fixing the problem at all. They're not going to help the American people, although they lay out these elaborate plans at how they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and nothing ever really helps us. This is the frustrating part for me, is that Congress just doesn't seem to be in the business, Democrat and some Republican, of really helping us. They're interested in helping each other or helping themselves and fighting each other, but they're not really. That's the one thing I think people love about Donald Trump, is that he really is interested in the country and interested in the individual and doing everything he can with no help from Congress to providing that help.
Politicians run on problems, not on solutions. Mm-hmm. They need the problems. And this is why Donald Trump will win in 2020, because he's actually going to run on the solutions. He's actually going to run on, look at your unemployment, look at your economy, look at North Korea, look at
But he's done this in spite
NATO
of Congress.
Pain. Right.
I mean, he literally has done this. Can you even imagine if he had Congress behind him, just to have the Republicans behind him?
But getting back to your question on healthcare, we can fix healthcare. The reason that we fix healthcare is not more government, it's less government. Less government is almost always the answer.
Right, to everything, yeah.
So here's
the famous
an answer.
Ronald Reagan thing. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Look out.
So speaking of healthcare, you happen to have a medication that you like to use, which does not require a prescription and does not become addictive, although it could be addictive, I suppose.
Well, yeah, but it's not.
It's not addictive.
No. Blue Emu works fast and you won't stink. That's exactly what we say. You won't stink. This episode of Blunt Force Truth is brought to you by Blue Emu Pain Relief Products. Now, I've been in show business for, 50, 60 years, and I'm not slowing down, but I can use a little help every now and then. Blue Emu's family of products are made in America and have become a staple in my life. The deep penetrating formula of Blue Emu Original is best for supporting my muscles and joints. And I'm sure you've seen it. It's on the shelf. It's a blue and white jar. I also use Maximum Arthritis for any arthritic pain that I have, and the lidocaine cream for numbing pain relief. So not only do these Blue Emu formulas work great, there's no chill, there's no burn, there's no odor. Blue Emu works fast and you won't stink. Available at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Amazon, and other fine retailers. Go out there and get you some.
So, Rusty, what comments do we have flowing in while Chuck was busy shamelessly promoting products?
Well,
listen, I'm a capitalist.
I think the first question is, if I wanted to get some kind of a hat or some kind of a product that promoted, Blunt Force Truth, how would I do that?
Talk about shamelessly promoting.
You thought you were shamelessly promoting. Oh, my God, folks. Well, there it is. You can get the fabulous Make America Republic hat or the I love my country but fear my government shirts at bluntforcetruth.com.
So what is it with people who are attacking you for wearing a red hat?
Well, all you have to do is have a red hat. It's like waving a red blanket in front of a bull.
I guess it must be the same.
It has the same reaction. You wave a red hat in front of a liberal, and you literally start seeing them clawing the ground. Their feet start to claw at the ground like a bull.
Like a bull?
Like a bull. They are some strange folks, Chuck. AOC, by the way. Our good friend AOC.
Are we going to go out on AOC?
Well, I got to give you this. She is claiming that Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, and Tucker Carlson are deliberately slurring her name.
Slurring it?
Yes, they're calling her Cortez.
Oh, what is
her Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh, they're abbreviating it. They're not slurring it. They're abbreviating it.
They're abbreviating it, and they're doing that as a deliberate racist slur.
Racist. Of course, it's racist.
Very racist. So Tom Elliott, who's the founder of Grabian, it's a media clipping service.
Mm-hmm.
You know what media clipping is. These are companies that watch everything and cut the clips. Mm-hmm. So they went through and they studied the entire month of March for all three of these show hosts. Mm-hmm. At no time did any of them, not one time, did any of them refer to her as Cortez. They referred to her over 100 times. In the 100 times, they repeatedly referred to her as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, and no time did they ever call her Cortez.
Well, nobody ever referred to me as Herbert Woolery. Ocasio would be a middle name, correct? Cortez would be the last name?
No, actually, that would be her father's last name. Because they use,
but it's the middle name, though.
Well, it is, but it's the father's last name and then the mother's last name.
I know. This sounds like what was that movie that the guy said, you killed my father? What was that?
Oh, yes. Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. My name is Sonia Cervantes Sonados, and you killed my father. It's like you got to go through the whole name or it doesn't count.
My name is Enrico Montoya.
Yeah,
you killed my father.
You killed my father.
Prepare to die.
Enrico Montoya. So, Ocasio-Cortez, it has to be put together as far as, you know what? Who cares? I don't care about that. And I think she's going to be history in about a year and a half anyway.
But this goes back to something you said earlier on the show today, and that is...
Which is?
They just say anything.
Anything. Everything is an affront. Everything is, painful to them. Everything is, you just don't understand. I'm sick of it. And I think the American people are sick of it. I very seldom say the American people like everybody else does, because I don't really know what the American people think.
A good lie used to always have a shred of truth in it.
Oh, some shred of truth in it. Today it doesn't have any.
That's the point.
Which makes it a really bad lie. And still there are those people, there are some of those people who will pick it up and run with it because they just will. Who knows why?
But I mean, there's not even a shred of truth in this crap.
Yeah.
I mean,
what crap are you talking about?
Whatever the left says.
I know.
I mean, now they just spew stuff out.
Well, so now is CNN and MSNBC, I always hear Fox talking about CNN not doing so well, but they very seldom mention MSNBC. But I would assume that Rachel Maddow and people like that aren't doing as well as they used to do since, the train didn't actually arrive at the station for them. So what's going on?
Actually, it's not that bad. CNN took a hit. MSNBC hasn't hit that bad. They haven't taken that big of a hit. And you know why? Because their audience still want to believe it's true.
Well, so it's confirmation bias. They just want to hear it over and over and over again, like New York Times or Washington Post. Right.
Russian collusion is still alive and well for them.
And so when you come up with a counter argument and back it up with facts, are they interested in that at all?
My feelings don't care about your facts.
Okay. All right. I get it.
Because truth lies within us. I'm not making this up. Truth does not revolve around facts. Truth does not revolve around evidence. Truth is what you feel.
It's my truth.
It is your truth. And you can take your truth and you can speak your truth to power, Chuck.
Yeah, you can take your truth
and you can use it, and you can use it as an anal suppository.
That's right.
To kill the worms.
Oh my gosh. Listen, thanks everybody. It's been a great day today. I've had a lot of fun with you, and I know Mark has too. And we thank you for listening to Blunt Force Truth. Hope you'll join us the next time. In the meantime, have a great day, a great week. I'm Chuck Woolery along with Mark Young, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.